now that I have your attention, it's often said that during the Christmas season, giving is better than receiving, and for the reindeer's share of the time, this is true. It's our ability to give ourselves, our love, our time to each other that makes the season so magical. But in order to give such a good name to giving, surely receiving must be just as good. Let's go somewhere else. There are gifts that can make you feel excited, cared for, and fulfilled. There's also a cancer diagnosis and the formation of the KKK, so clearly not everything you can receive on Christmas is good. Hi, local main character Zepp here. This is about Uno, but just walk with me for a second here. For every dozen or so kids that get a puppy on Christmas, there's one kid who gets a puppy who really didn't want one, but their dad really wanted a reason to choose him in the custody battle. Long hours could be spent talking about the horrors found under your local Christmas tree. However, there is a delivery system of mediocrity that often gets overlooked.
Stocking stuffers, what charitably could be called the garnish to your Christmas gifts, often ends up being an excuse for your really cool uncle to give you a lotto ticket and then ask you to split the $10 you won because he, quote, bought the damn thing in the first place. Also, you're 9 at the time. The concept of a stocking stuffer is quite simple. On Christmas Day, growing up in my relatively privileged position on the global scale, I would get one big gift, some smaller gifts, and a stocking hung by the chimney or fireplace mantle equivalent with care. In this stocking, which was a comedically oversized baby booty, technically speaking, would be gifts too small or inconsequential to present as a main gift, usually being around $5 or had the general vibe of being $5 because inflation's a bitch. It could be socks, a toothbrush, candy, hair ties, maybe a gift card, hopefully one that you'll use. So basically speaking, upkeep. Exciting for an adult, a little not for an ungrateful child. Sometimes, if you were lucky, you could get a small toy, like a Lego polybag, or if your parents were on the verge of divorce and resented you, Mega Bloks. Don't worry, I got Lego one time. My parents loved me. One Christmas, however, staring down the barrel of a pre-2008 economy grandparent Christmas stocking, something really vexing stared back up at me. Not in like an offensive way, just in a really confounding way. Mixed in with the stale candy my grandma would keep in her garage for about half of the year, and the one annual teeth-shattering popcorn ball was an ordinary Uno deck. A plain Jane missionary sex on a Tuesday night for the purpose of procreation, vanilla copy of Uno. I think it's because I asked for a Yu-Gi-Oh deck and they saw a foreign word on a box of cards, so, well, you know. And honestly, that is the least egregious microaggression a couple their age could have possibly made. Of course, I am grateful that they got me a gift. That I am thankful for. That is a privilege that I have. However, to ignore nuance for just a tiny while for the bit, what a strange gift. No one wants for an Uno deck in the same way that no one wants for sand in the desert or for chasers at the RNC. Everyone has an Uno deck. It came free with your having a junk drawer. You know, I could have gotten a standard deck of playing cards and been a little bit happier because I could play games that weren't Uno. I have been gifted a pack of Ticonderoga No. 2 pencils and been ecstatic. One year, I popped off for a heart-shaped notebook. Blue's Clues autism, by the way. Another year, my mom, to punish me for being bad, took a ream of construction paper out of my batch of gifts, and I was devastated. I was easily entertained. My bar is with Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher in hell. Now, don't get me wrong, I like playing Uno with my friends, in the same way that I like doing any meaningless activity with my friends. My friends are there with me. The Uno is completely ancillary. We could be throwing rocks at a train and nothing would change. Uno is the game equivalent of fiddling with a loose flap on a backpack. It's satiating background stimulation. It's the movie playing in the background of a house party. It is there. If you're not familiar with Uno, shut up, you lying bitch. Don't play with me, I'm not introducing Uno, a white noise machine that can cause arguments. You know what Uno is, and you know how to play. I mean, at least you think you do. Your house rules may have well been given to you on stone tablets at a Sermon on the Mount, because when someone says that they're not correct, suddenly they've been worshipping a golden calf and they have to be killed. It's like any traditional culturally ingrained game. Ubiquitous, divisive, and corrupted by capitalism. The game is produced by Mattel, the company universally known for Barbie, Hot Wheels, and being Isaac Larian's #1 op. It's a product that's like a mattress, always in demand, but never a frequent buy. Once you have it, it lasts you until you lose too many cards or shuffle them ragged, and you'll often drag out that lifespan anyways. This is notably bad for commercial juggernaut Uno, who'd prefer if you bought a fresh pack every day as if they're tetracolored Newports. That's why they invented Uno variants, enough to create a YouTube trend out of trying to combine them all together into one horrific game. Uno variants are interesting because they can be an Uno deck with Brand's face on it, and recently, one whole special rule, an Uno deck with a waste byproduct, or an Uno deck if it were a marketing disaster. It would be worse than a fool's errand to try to list all of the different versions of Uno ever released. It would be a Wikipedia editor's errand. Instead, I'm just going to cover the current variants of Uno on store shelves, as they're what radicalized me into a militant communist whenever I walk into a Walmart. This tumor is the Walmart Uno section, and I gotta ask, why?
It will take me exactly Uno more thing to snap. Sam Walton's capitalist hellscape has over 100. Out of the stock in my current store, discounting the licensed reskins, there is a significant number of Uno variants that actually change the rules in any meaningful way. Something that is as necessary as a variant on the classic Oreo.
Yeah, no, I see how needed this was. The hand of the free market was really itching for Oreos that were an affront to God. Starting off with the ones that suck, Uno Flip. What if Uno had the ability to turn into a Dark World variant and was also a bad game? Giant Uno. What if Uno was inconvenient to play for all able-bodied folk and too large to be an accessibility tool? And if Giant Uno does let you play Uno, no, that is good. I am glad. This one is fine. Uno All Wilds. What if Uno, an already simple game, was even simpler? You're right. That is how Claire's does its lobotomies. No colors, no numbers, just the occasional action card to postpone the game from reaching its inevitable end. It's weak. It's decadent. It needs a strong core gameplay mechanic. Ah, yes, you can't get rid of the colors and numbers. You're not supposed to do that, Mattel. You know you're not supposed to do that. Uno Golf. I'm not sure that this is a bad one per se, it's more so just a game that is ostensibly not Uno. If you want to spice things up in your vanilla Uno gameplay, however, there's Uno booster packs with more action cards, Uno with dares, Uno with teams, Uno with plastic peripherals that I've never seen or heard of anyone actually playing. Like, be so for real with me right now, who has played Uno Attack? Much less Uno Flip Attack. I don't know, what if Uno had a Don't Wake Daddy machine in the middle that would vomit out a random amount of cards at you whenever you need to draw? Does that sound appealing to you?
Yes, officer, this is the one.
Most Uno house rules are made to arbitrarily extend the game and make people draw more cards. Thanks to the Industrial Revolution and its consequences, a machine has now taken that job. Speaking of plastic peripherals, what do you guys think of Uno Spin? You know what I thought Uno needed? More reliance on chance! Uno Spin is a game where if you play specially marked cards, you spin a wheel and do the action it chose, following in the proud tradition of version of Uno where you randomly have to pause the game to do some stupid stuff to prolong the game about prolonging the game even further. We actually have the technology to do that without plastic. There's Liar's Uno, a version of Uno where you can place cards face down to bluff and call bluffs. And the game's bullshit in more ways than one because you can just play this with a normal deck of Uno. Good idea for an alternate game mode, however. Not good enough, though. It doesn't have enough Lamar Jackson. Uno Elite. The only Uno variant to ever have representation for the chronic traumatic encephalopathy community. You know, besides the other ones. It's a version of Uno where certain elite cards allow you to play action cards of a matching color from a tableau adorned with football players. These elite cards come from each player's custom elite decks, which they can draft out before starting the game, or buy packs to build their own. That's a neat way to make Uno a trading card game. Certainly better than most NFL TCGs. I'm personally glad they gave Uno players the ability to have an extra deck, especially when you can include the guy whose dick is the subject of the only listenable song on Life of a Showgirl. Yeah, I'm going out to bat for Wood, I'm making that stand. NFL isn't the only flavor it comes in, it also comes in the hobby of every accomplished woman with ADHD. That's not even a real stereotype, I just made that up. I know after all these different versions of Uno you might feel discouraged, but don't worry, they also make Uno that's good. Uno No Mercy has the same design goals as most Uno variants, giving players more options to be mean and ruin other players' chances of winning the game. Unlike those variants, No Mercy does not suffer the side effects of prolonging the game even more while also incorporating more extreme versions of popular house rules and fan-favorite cards. It manages this by turning the game into a free-for-all battle royale. You can still win the game by being the first one to empty out your hand, but you can also win the game by being the last one still left alive. When a player has 25 or more cards in hand, something that's both normal to want and very possible to achieve, they are eliminated from the game. Hypothetically, this causes eliminated players to sit on their hands for a bit until the game wraps up. In practice, however, it speeds up the game fast enough where that's not a problem and they don't have to face the alternative, sitting on their hands waiting for someone to finally eke out a victory while somehow not being screwed over by another player. It's the first variant to feel like an actually fun, justifiable twist on the original game, maybe being more fun than the original game wholesale. It's like the double stuff of Uno variants, and one that should stand the test of time. These versions, however, are like the gas station dick pills of Uno.
There are 3 separate adult-only Unos because apparently there is a noticeable demand to make Uno horny! I am tired of adult party games demanding you to hump the air, or say who at the table you do over-the-close hand stuff with. You know what'd be a better adult activity to do with your friends? Sex! Have an orgy! Do drugs and change the nature of your bond! The consequences will be more enjoyable than Uno Spin! Adult only! Or the Truth and Dare versions they separated into 2 separate releases like it's 1996! Yeah, you know what makes me horny? A game of Uno randomly interrupted with the most sexually charged thing Mattel Legal has cleared for print. Don't wait for Mattel to give you permission to be horny. Just do something about it. I'm sorry, but if you're raring to go for adult-only Uno, you may be a terminally boring person and you need to fix your soul. Okay, so for the logistics...
The Truth and Dare versions are actually printed on cards similar to Uno Splash, a waterproof plastic Uno deck that comes with lesbian technology, so you can carry it with you on your belt loop. Where Splash cards are waterproof to keep them safe from pool parties, adults-only cards do it to keep them safe from adult fluids like alcoholic beverages and Spin adult-only does not come with any waterproof cards, but at least it's also a failed last-ditch attempt at solving the polycule's intimacy issues. In a world with many other adult party games that are memorable and fun, I'm not sure why you would want to play one that is instead Uno, with a list of prompts. If you would want that, however, I do know that you have ruined a friendship by propositioning them for sex or declaring your undying love for them while they have a partner, so maybe your mileage will vary. Uno, just like the Oreo family of carcinogens, only needs 2 versions, regular and regular but more. We don't need all this extra stuff, whether it be plastic, guys who don't vaccinate their kids, or the same kind of sexual tension that exists between 2 very tired middle school teachers alone together in a gym cleaning up after chaperoning a dance and slightly grinding to get low. Sans a copy of No Mercy, Uno may literally be the lamest gift a person could receive, ignore all those other ones. Again, to drive the point home, even a deck of normal playing cards would be a better gift because you could play games other than Uno, including better drinking games than Uno but horny! I talked to my local Uno collector and Wild Draw 4 fetishist John Braun about his opinions on all these different Unos and if they're at all justified.
So, John Braun, what got you into being the Uno guy?
I got Uno Guide. I unwillingly was Uno Guide. And, after a while, you start to think, maybe I am the Uno guy.
Cool. So out of all of these versions of Uno that you own, are any of them, well, you know, good?
I'd say like 3.
And out of the 3 that you think are good, do you think any of them are justifiable products to be made in the year of our Lord?
For the better or for worse, I think depends on the company that... What in the hell?
You're blown!
I hope one day in the far-flung future we never see another version of Uno, Monopoly, Clue, or any other game invented to teach children patience. We as a society have invented board games that are actually good. We have grown past the need to have any of these family game night standards have their own section in the toy aisle, much less a place in the stocking of anyone who even owns one good tabletop game. We do not need proprietary Crazy 8s that until very recently was hostile to the colorblind and has tantalized thousands of waspy moms fiending to break out their accented Spanish. Or at least this many versions of it. That's why I have only one non-politically motivated Christmas wish this year, for the collapse of the Uno industrial complex. Or for them to release Trace. I think that'd be really funny. No, come on guys, do it! It won't flop this time, I swear!